Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready for more propaganda? Well, you're in the wrong place at the right time. Colombo Chronicles is for critical thinkers. Let's welcome the consumer advocate for justice. Here's the Rose Colombo.
Hi, everyone. It's the Rose Colombo right here for you. And welcome to Colombo Chronicles Live and the Justice Club. And in a minute, we're going to take a little break because I want you to hear about one of my latest books, Obamasaurus, How the Judeo-Christian Dinosaur Nation Was Depopulated. That's a fictional adventure story, and it has a message at the end that critics say will leave you very concerned about your humanity. And also, it's considered for film, so we'll keep our fingers crossed there and appreciate a little prayer if you have a moment to do that. And also, just to let you know, this is not just a book. It is a message for the citizens around the world.
Obamasaurus, the new book by Rose M. Colombo, is an updated version of a political satire that reflects the political roadmap of today's world. Written with an Orwellian twist. Will humanity survive or suffer depopulation or extinction? Obamasaurus by Rose M. Colombo. Available at Amazon.com.
In a moment, we're going to introduce our wonderful returning guest. Her name is Joyce Alexander Black, and she has her master's degree. She's going to tell us a little bit about her background, and I'm going to come back in just a moment. But first, listen to this very important message.
Howdy, folks. Just stopped in by my favorite restaurant, the Horseshoe Cafe. I highly recommend the home-cooked hot meals and piping hot coffee. In fact, it reminds me of my mom's home cooking when I was growing up. The customer service is excellent. Be sure to save room for the world's best desserts. Make sure you try a slice of fresh homemade pie. The Horseshoe Cafe is located at 154 East 4th Street in the heart of Benson, Arizona. The Horseshoe Cafe is right outside of Tombstone, Sierra Vista, and Tucson. Sometimes Patty and Mike stop by to welcome you. The staff at the Horseshoe Cafe looks forward to seeing you. Stop by to eat or relax. Cool down in the desert with a cold beer or your favorite cocktail. That's the Horseshoe Cafe. Oh, and don't tell anyone I told you, but some people think it's haunted. One thing is for sure. Be sure to bring your appetite.
The Justice Club is back on Colombo Chronicles Live Podcast. Join Rose Colombo at noon and find out what tips she will provide in a world of little justice.
Yes, let's find out what happens in a world of little justice, because I wrote the book, Fight Back Legal Abuse, went global, International Irwin Award winner, and it talked about injustices on every level, and also it was a self-help book, and it caused people to expand their minds, and it was a viral book. So watch for Fight Back Legal Abuse 2 coming in the near future, towards the end of 2023, or maybe early 2024. But today we have our very dynamic guest, and her name is Joyce Alexander Black, and we're going to have her tell you a little bit about her background if you if you're new or you haven't heard her background in the past. Sometimes people turn on the show later on in the middle or whatever. Everybody's busy. Fortunately, these are taped live, so you can come back and listen to them at any time. And I want to remind you that we have our podcast uploaded to a new channel on YouTube, and soon you'll even be able to hear it on mobile. So we're working on all these issues, and we have authors and experts from sometimes international, but mostly from America. who are experts in their field on just about any topic you can possibly think of, from love to crime to mafia to divorce to children to romance and love and relationships. And I even had a wonderful, wonderful Dr. Jacob Eisenbach on my show. He's in his 90s, and he actually was a captive in the concentration camps and his family during World War II. And under these crazy times we are living in right now, I think I'm going to upload that show on another date and have everyone listen to it to remind us that we must stand up for the babies, the children, the elderly, and everyone else, all of us in between, wherever you're at. And because we are the only country in the world who provides hope for freedom, liberty, rights, and sovereignty. We are a lawless nation right now. We are a borderless nation, very frightening to most people, out of control. We need to bring our country back under control and as a republic under the rule of law, because we are a civilized nation. And even if you're not a Christian, the part is that our foundation was founded on a Christian foundation, a Judeo-Christian foundation of the Old and New Testaments of the Bible, inspired by God to men to write down and pass down. And it is the number one bestseller, believe it or not, in the world. And I just wanted to remind you that China is now creating and changing the Bible to meet their communist agendas, because there are so many converts that are going underground in China that they can't control it. So they're actually going to take our Bible and they're going to rewrite it according to the communist agendas so that they can control the people even more and not actually read the original Judeo-Christian Bible of the Old and New Testament. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you. But now, today, we're going to talk about the children and how to protect your children, how to talk to your children. And our guest is an expert on that. So let's say hello and welcome her into the Justice Club today and on Colombo Chronicles. And
hello.
Sorry about that. And let's say hello. Hi, Joyce. How are you?
Hi, Rose. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Well, there's so much going on that it's just crazy, crazy. So today we're going to focus, though. So before we focus on the children, why don't you tell our audience who are new to listeners or maybe didn't hear the background, a little bit about your background so they can understand where you're coming from.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so excited to be here because what's happening, this is an opportunity to actually make a difference, and that excites me. So what I do, well, my name is Joyce Alexander Black, born and raised in Southern California, LA, hold a master's degree clinical psychology, specializes in like individuals, couples, families. I'm also NLP, master practitioner, hypnotherapist. Basically, my current work is more of coaching and trying to promote people to do what their passion is and empowering them. I've worked with many children in inner city organizations from LA, from Compton, Watts to Beverly Hills, such as Hollywood YMCA, LA Children's Hospital, Children's Foster Homes, Girls' Homes, Boys' Homes, elementary and high schools in the LA area, as well as Selma jails for women inmates. The reason I talk, I've also been on TV shows and radio shows, but the reason I talk so much about the children is because I think it's important that people understand that I've actually had a lot of experience in this. And one of the things that really has got me was when I was working in foster care and children who were taken, and children who are not in foster care, but children who were taken, they all said the same thing. We were told not to go with strangers. We were never told what to do if we were taken. And I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and mainly it seems like two groups. One group, they have a very fear-based personality, attitude, so they scare the poor child, and they tell them everything, and in, let's say, an adult language, and it's not specifically to age-appropriate ways for them to be educated and not scared. And it's a fine line, and it's an important line. You don't want to go and tell the child, don't go with strangers or they can, do horrible things and this and that. That will scare them, which I've experienced parents coming to me telling me, I told my child and now they're having nightmares every day. Okay, so that's not the way to do it. I appreciate that they're trying. Totally love that. However, there's different things to where you have to say, okay, well, obviously babies are also unfortunately being taken. And there's, that's really parents just being aware. So I kind of looking at it as like starting with the parent with the child. So this is more female related, but not necessarily. I'm hearing a lot of background noise by some chance. Is something noisy back there on your end by any chance?
No, I don't hear it, but keep going. I'm sure sometimes it happens. I don't know.
Electronics these days. Anyway, so what happened was that, let's say a mother taking a child to the supermarket. Well, a lot of times mothers would get on their cell phones and they're calling or they're listening to music. Distracted areas, not appropriate. Like when the time is to be distracted, when you're in a safe place, in a home, in a place that of a friend's home, something that's safe. When you're in a place such as taking the child, unfortunately they're taking now the mother with the child. And they're kidnapping them both. Why? They get to sell both of them, unfortunately. So this way, just to be mindful, no cell phones, no headphones while I'm walking the child. This is a time to just, pay attention, be aware. Things that are been known to be a concern, shopping malls, entering and leaving schools, traffic lights, going to and out of friends' homes, grocery stores, and a big one is public toilets. I remember when my nephew was young, he'll hate that I put this on the radio, but he'll get over it. But it was very difficult because he was a boy. But what do you do with those inappropriate ages? Like when he's a baby, totally fine to go with me. But especially boys didn't want to be with their aunt or their mom in the girls' bathroom when they were old enough to not want that. But they weren't old enough to be alone. So I came up with a way to do it. This was many, many years ago, between 10 and 20 years ago, and I had him count very loud. And I just said to him, when I stop hearing you count, I will come in no matter who's in there. And he said, you wouldn't. I said, I would. And he said, all right. And he would start counting. And then I wouldn't come in. Now, I don't know that that's the best way.
No, but that was a good idea, that's for sure.
He wouldn't agree with you, though.
Oh, I know the kids won't agree, but, they don't understand. That's why parents are parents and adults are adults who care about kids so that they don't get caught up because that's one of the places that, they look for children. And unfortunately, Joyce, we have a lot of teachers that have been popping up in the news since the 90s who are having sex with minor children in their own class, from their own classrooms. And that's a serious problem, too. So when you're talking about restrooms, such as in the public schools, who the heck knows, how safe they are anymore? Because I think they should have, some kind of a button or something that they can push just in case, set off an alarm in case they get, attacked by somebody. I don't know how that works either, but it's an idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's so many great ideas. I mean, some people, they talk about giving their child an AirTag just to be able to follow them. That may work. Do you know what an AirTag is? It's like from Apple, and it's like wherever, like I put it on my keychain, so in case I misplace the keychain in my house, I know which room it's in. Super helpful. But that is one way. However, it's not foolproof type thing. And I don't necessarily think the way that I did it with my nephew was right, because he's to this day, he would say, yeah, okay, it worked, but, and I'm not sure, one day maybe after doing the show, I'll ask him, what would he do? I
think it would make somebody anxious when they're going to the restroom, because sometimes you can't, you stay longer than that because nature, And I think that is part of the problem, maybe, with that good idea. But, people don't always finish in 10, counting to 10. So that could be an issue with that.
Right. And that was one of the things that, I was thinking about, if he was doing, let's say, we'll call it number 2, how do you create safety? So, and then before I'd walk in the bathroom, I would say, are you okay? And he'd say, yeah, I'm fine. And, also by just saying that, everyone in the bathroom now knows this is probably not a person to this person is watched. He's not here, or she's not there alone. And I think that what this does is, and this is the most important thing to me, is start conversations. This is a time to start speaking. And I know this also within relationships, working with couples. They're very upset with each other. And mostly the other one will say, well, you never told me that part. I didn't know that's why that bothered you. And it's like, let's just all realize that whether you think someone knows or doesn't know, there's two things. Communication. There's two things that I would hope everyone can get from today would be communication, and role play. And why I say role play is because in every situation where we'll say something, like, if you say something to someone and you have an imagination of what it looks like, you can have a secretary and say, could you please go and pick up blah, blah, blah from Staples, and they come back with something totally different. But you understand that they didn't do it to be harmful. They just didn't get you. If you roll, I'm not.
Well, also people don't listen today, Joyce. Most people do not listen today. I mean, if you go through a drive-through to get some food and you tell them specifically what you want, if you don't look in the bag or at the drink, you're going to drive off, and many, many times you're not going to get what you ordered. And that creates anger by some people who can't control their anger. If you watch recent videos where the person gets so angry they attack the clerk or the customer rep, and it's so dangerous today because there's so many angry people, even including children today. So we're really on a crazy path here of the communication that's not available to many kids because there's a lot of angry adults as well who can't communicate or listen or don't listen to their children. I think we're all guilty of that, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. We all have had to deal with our own personal stuff, and then, but today has made it worse. One of the things that reminds me of when I was working with some children who were possibly allegedly abused by their parent. So one of the things that I would tell a child is pay attention to facial expressions and physical expressions. People don't go usually from 1 to 100. If somebody you're around and you see them, they're getting angry, their face usually tightens, their shoulders get really tight, and they start talking really fast and loudly, say, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom. Just people all understand that, and then go in there, and if they say, why are you in so long? Say, I have a tummy ache, or I need to go do number 2. Whatever it is, give yourself time, which hopefully will give them time to relax. And that's the first step. And second is, tell your teacher or, another adult. But one of the things that is so important is, like, how do you keep your child safe? One of the unfortunate high percentage of children being molested are from people in their family. So one of the things I was thinking a lot about is, how do you protect a child from that? So for some reason, and I don't know why, I think this is very interesting, but for some reason we teach children to hug everybody. Hello, this is Aunt so-and-so, hug. This is cousin so-and-so, hug. This is my long-lost friend from 15 years ago, hug. And
yeah.
Right? And it's not really logical. And what we're doing is we're not teaching children boundaries. We're not teaching not to hug. And what I would like to do is start the conversation with, maybe let's not do that anymore. Maybe let's
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think that's going to happen because, like, in the Italian culture, we hug everybody. I mean, just naturally, and a lot of Europeans do that, and not so much in America, but if you grew up in a family that came from Europe, you do it, you just automatically hug everybody. And I think as a child, Joyce, you also have a sixth sense that God puts up a red flag, and their expressions on their faces and their fear in their eyes or whatever, I think, people, that's what the adults are missing.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, yes, there's cultural reasons, and mostly everybody has been taught this. What I'm suggesting is we're living in a time that says, hang on a second, let's reevaluate this. If the highest percentage of molesters are someone that is known to the child, we may want to rethink this. Maybe they don't need to hug everyone. Maybe they can shake their hands. And just think for 1 second, because this really hit me when I thought about this. If you teach a child that you can say no, then what happens is you're teaching them the part of life that they need. Say, you know what, my mom has taught me not to hug, but I can shake your hand. I have been hugged by somebody as an adult, a male, who inappropriately hugged me for a long time. And I asked him to let go. And his response was, I'm enjoying it. I said, but I'm not. This doesn't feel good. So if you want to, let go, you'll be in a better position. And he did. And then another friend who knew him told me the same story. So some people don't understand boundaries. We weren't taught this. We weren't taught as children, when it doesn't feel good, it's wrong. Like, there's good parenting. Good parenting is this like new phraseology, but what it does is it teaches parents to teach children that they can say no, that they don't have to do anything. And when you teach a child that they have that right, they go into the world in a much better place. Like, for example, we're talking about places that are also challenging. Now there's the public toilet. Now there's another scenario, the changing rooms at gyms. So for me, I have been in a changing room at a gym where I felt that there was a couple little boys, inappropriately age-wise, a bit older than I thought would be appropriate. So here you go again. if there's not a family changing room, which would be great to have, but they don't always. So then what I did is say, okay, I will go into a changing room myself and change and come out. What I care mostly is these children are safe. And
well, I understand that, and we all want to make sure the children are safe. But sadly, I think we're like 40 years too late because of the open borders and all of the traffickers, because it's not just children now, it's also kidnapping adults who they enslave to do work and whatever work they brought them here to do. And then there's also the organ harvesting going on. So it's so insane now that you're taking on a huge, huge project that I think is wonderful and needs to be done. But I think it's going to be a long time for you to actually try to get people to rethink. I think you could, but I believe if you start everything that you start and you have passion and you continue to do it, eventually it starts to take hold. Because everything takes time. All kinds of changes take time.
Right. I don't know that that's going to be my life passion, but what I am thinking for me right now is what I really want in every aspect is to help people start a conversation and role play. For example, so many times people will say, like, I want to set, like, clear, realistic expectations. So, like, for example, here's some pointers I thought of. Like, parents will say to a child, don't go with a stranger. Okay, great. What does that mean if they're taken? So what a child needs to know, and where role play would be fantastic, is if parents would do this once a week, even if it's 20 minutes. Okay, pretend you're being taken, scream, yell, say help. The most important time is not to get in the car. Like, that's so important. And things like that. Setting clear expectations and ground rules, like give your child a password. Say, anyone who picks you up will give you this password, including myself. If they don't, you do not get in the car. And one of the things that they say to children is they say, oh, your mom sent me or your dad sent me, and it's not true. Or they'll say, your parents is hurt. Come with me. They told me to get you. It's not true. They never will be hurt and send a stranger. And or they'll say, oh, I'll take you and get you an ice cream, or take you shopping, or take you to a restaurant. If you're hungry, go to an amusement park. People will not do good things for strangers. And that's what's important for kids to know. These are strangers who mean to hurt you. And that's the conversation that doesn't get told. And so kids don't understand how to deal with it. They need to, parents and foster families, whoever is watching them, is like instill a healthy amount of skepticism in the child. Make them question. Think about it.
Yes.
I
think you're talking about young children, and I think one of the other things that you can think about is if someone in a vehicle approaches you, says, hey, your mom told me to pick you up, or I'm going to, get in, I'll buy you an ice cream, or whatever it is, that they could actually start running and screaming, help, and scare the guy off, or the woman, because there's females too who are looking for children.
Are females.
Yeah.
A lot of them start with females.
It's crazy.
Exactly. That was actually my next point, saying we teach children to respect their elders, and that's really important. However, here's the little however. It's very important to teach children who to trust and to trust their instincts and intuition. And if they feel there's something wrong, to trust that. And to, like, there's a place called Krav Maga, which I love, and I get no money on this, so I just want to let you know. But it's like they have classes for kids over 5. They teach people how to fight. I kind of found it through watching Jennifer Lopez in that movie, and I think that's where she learned how to fight. And you don't have to be big to hurt someone or attack them. You just need to know how to use your body in certain ways. And the more you practice it, the stronger you get. And it's like, I don't understand, if you think logically about all the women who've been raped and molested, how is it that women have not been taught how to fight? How many people do you know that are women who know how to fight?
I think today they're more into it because there's more gyms, there's more boxing classes, there's more self-defense classes. I think women are much more aware of it today than they were in the past, that's for sure. Nobody was really aware of it in the past, and nobody talked about it because, it just wasn't something people wanted to talk about, basically. And I also think, that I had a guest who is an author, and she works with natural herbs and things like that. And but her dad abused her and her sister, and she said her mother never said a word, And so, if you look at the times, women were not allowed to speak. We're not allowed to talk about things like this. We're not allowed to do anything, basically, but stay home, take care of the house and kids and the husband, which is a beautiful job. It's a great marriage, it's a beautiful concept, And everybody wants that, the nice house, the nice husband, working together and having fun and laughing and helping each other from sickness and health and all that good stuff. Everybody wants that. But everything has changed so much today that we are not the same country anymore, and we need to accept the fact that there is change in this country, and we cannot sit by and ignore it because it's in our faces now, and you can't even speak out in the media. I used to be on the media a lot, but in this day and age, my truth is not something the media is excited about. People are, but not the big honchos. And so,
right.
It depends on the subject. I'm talking about the subject matter, but not to everybody. Just certain ones, don't want that particular type of truth out there. And so, we're really dealing with a lot of different aspects of how this country has changed, and all these people who are mainly young, healthy males coming into our country. I am very aware that these are a majority of healthy males entering this country, and they're bringing in drugs. And that's another huge problem, Joyce, is that they're bringing in drugs, and we have so many kids frying their brains or dying from the overdose of fentanyl, and now there's even a more serious one they're bringing into this country. And now we have the Chilean, which nobody even knows about, organized criminal syndicate in our country operating. We have the CCP running labs in America, right here in California. So, there's so much going on that my point to you is that people are having a hard time having to keep up with the cost of living, buying a loaf of bread for $6 or $7. Gasoline here in California is headed to $7. Right. Just housing is out of control. That the divorce rate is high because of this. And so my point is that it's so hard on parents to have the energy and the time to do things. So my other point is that that's why I really think that you're writing a book addressing these issues and also doing your iTunes on audio, I think will help the parents and the child and the teachers so much in this country. What do you think?
I think what you're saying is absolutely true. It's hard when there's so much going on, and we live in a time that, yes, there's so many different things, but the thing that I think about and the focus I have right now is just thinking about, like, how do you protect a child? Parents, yes, they are overwhelmed, but this is not a time to be quiet. This is the time to be proactive, and teach your child how to trust their instincts, how to call for help, and teach your child how to fight, whether it's Krav Maga or something else.
My point was, though, that I think it has to be a combination of public school teachers and religious leaders and parents, because it's a huge job, and people are tired. They want to just, when they come home and they have to pick up the kids and they have to take them to sports, and then they have to pack their lunches and they have to get ready for bed and they have to get their dinner ready, and we have so many single parents that they're exhausted. So my point is that it has to be a unification of people coming together from these different organizations.
I love that idea, but I love that idea, but we can't control other people. All we can do is say, well, look, this is what's happening. We could close our eyes, do nothing, expect other people to do it. It won't happen. And I think the most profound thing we can look at is like looking at what would it look like to come home and see an empty bed and your child's not there. And then you all of a sudden wish you took the time. This is the time you have right now. You don't know what the future is. You don't know what could happen. But the best job is communication and preparation. If like what to do, the number one thing, if I were to say, like, teach your kids how to fight, girl or boy, they're taking both equally and doing horrible things equally. Role play. Take 20 minutes a week. Let's say every Sunday after lunch, you do 20 minutes of role play. What would it be like if someone took you? How do you fight? How do you get attention in a mall, in a bathroom? And then what happens is, because when people get scared, we all get scared. We have fear, we have anxiety, our brain doesn't work as well. We don't know what to do. But if you have a role play, you will do it. And I'll tell you something. One time I was driving, I don't know, I think it was down Melrose or something, and I had a hit and run. And I saw who the person was, and I saw the license plate, and I went to the called the police station, went there, and they gave me a whole bunch of pictures to look, and I ID'd the person and the license plate. And they said most people don't remember. This is the little game my brother and I played when we were kids. We would do like 10 seconds, look at certain people, like one person. Whoever could get the most information would win. Well, it's just because playing that game, which is such a simple game to play, but it's profoundly important. They get license plates, they get tattoos, they get marks on their face, they get clothing. You get that information, and you only get that by practice. And I know that with police, that's one of the things that they do. They teach people, what are they wearing, what do they look like.
I was going to say that because when you said license plates, because when I worked for the sheriff's department as a young girl, that was one of the things they always said. If you see something, try to get the license plate, number.
Right.
That's so important.
Yeah, nowadays kids have phones, but you don't want the kid to stop to take a picture when there's something else. Like for me, when I was a child and I had an argument with my brother, as kids do, and I walked down the alley, and I was taken from the grace of God. I don't know how he did not touch me, but thank God he didn't. But he made me watch him while he masturbated. That being said, I was not told, don't go in an alley. Those are the kinds of things, and it's like maybe I was told don't go in an alley, but it wasn't clear why. And see, that's where the conversation is. Don't go in an alley because strange people are there. I'm not blaming my parents. I'm just saying these are the conversations that, for whatever reason, we have been taught not to have. And then the children get taken. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to act. And certain things like, no matter what they say or do, I will always love you, and I'll spend the rest of my life looking for you. Do not believe a word anyone says. Like things that are important, and I guess, again, goes back to good parenting, making sure that you're taking care of your kids, but doing it in a way that is really helpful. And there's somebody that a friend of mine knows who runs an organization on sex trafficking, and his taught his son, spoke to his son and everything, and his son gave away personal information. Forgot to say, never give any stranger personal information. No phone number, no address, no time that mommy and daddy goes to work or one or the other. And they had to, I think, move, but they changed their phone number and all these other things. So you can't be perfect. There's no such thing. But it's people, I mean, so many people have talked to me. Like this one, I met this just last week, a trainer at the gym. He told me he was taken, and thank God his brother was there. And his brother ran up and just started screaming, and between the two of them, he got out of the van. So one of the things that seems like a way that they do it is they grab a child and throw them in the van with the person who's grabbing them, and then they take off. So, I mean, I was in a place similar to like Bel Air, a really nice place, and I see this little girl also just a week or two ago, beautiful blonde little girl eating ice cream all by herself. And I'm on the next table, and I said, "Hi, are you here alone?" She goes, "No, my mommy's getting me ice cream." Okay. So her mom comes out, and I said, "I'm going to be totally inappropriate. It's not my business, but I have to say something. Why did you leave your kid here?" And she said, "Well, I was watching." I said, "You're not. You have to pick an ice cream. You have to pay. Those 10 seconds or 20 seconds, it's not worth it." She goes, "Well, I didn't want them to steal the stroller for the younger baby, so I carried the baby." I said, strollers are replaceable. And I'm not saying this to make anyone a bad parent, but it's like, I hope that me having that conversation with her, she never does that again. But we don't know. And these are just constant stories of people. This other girl I know said that her and her friends were going somewhere in the airport, and there was a car that said, we'll take you to the airplane. It's some kind of like mix-up. And she said, there's no license plate on that car. Don't go in. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's the airport. She goes, there's no license plate on that car. Don't go in. Pulled her friend out, and that car was doing that to several people. So it's just also being aware and teaching like awareness that we, like you're saying, the world we live in, there's so much going on. Like whether you're with a child or alone.
The other part of this, though, is how do you keep the children from not living in fear because, by not overdoing it, because, you don't want them to be fearful of all strangers, that they meet.
Right. Right. So it depends, of course, age related. But again, also, it's not just till they're 18. It's at any age, because there's other things that happen. But for the young children, you just say to them, like you start off with touching. You say that, like you put your, I'm doing this, I realize we're not visual. You put your hands on the breast, on the, let's say, pee-pee area and the poo-poo area, and you say, nobody's allowed to touch you there, ever, unless it's your mommy, daddy, or a doctor. And if anyone touches you there,
some doctors are unethical too. There was one at the college here in Los Angeles, that university at Los Angeles, that was inappropriately touching the college girls or whatever. I don't know what he was doing, but anyway, eventually he got caught and prosecuted. But that went on for a long time because the public schools and universities don't want a bad reputation, so they cover up a lot of stuff too.
But just going back on that to the child, when you say to the child, no one's allowed to touch you there except your mommy, your daddy, or a doctor, and if you're with a doctor, mommy and daddy has to be in the room. There's no way a child should be checked by a doctor without a parent in the room. So if that's happening, there's something wrong. But we're talking about like how to teach a child so they're not fearful. You have a conversation and you say things like, I just want you to feel, first, of course, it's teaching them how to fight. I think that's huge. Second, you say, well, one of the reasons I want you to fight is I don't want anyone to bully you. I don't want anyone to hurt you. So when they're young, the word bully, they understand there's bullies at schools. So you know that so-and-so at school can sometimes be a bully. Yeah. Well, sometimes adults can be bullies. I don't want you to be bullied by anyone. So that could be the start of the conversation. Teaching how to trust one's instincts. Now, what that requires is the parents to be good parenting. In other words, when a child says no to the parent, which they will, on things that will probably bother the parent, to take a breath and say, wow, this is fantastic. My child is learning boundaries. They don't want to do this. Okay. I mean, there's many levels to where this can go. But the point is, yeah, you could scare the child, like I said in the beginning, like there's this woman who scared the child. That didn't make sense. But when you talk to a child and you use language that they're familiar with, if they're a little bit older, you don't have to use the word bullies. You could say sometimes people are not good, are not going to be good to you. They're going to try to hurt you. And so this is what to do if there is somebody like that. And so
we also have pastors. We also have pastors and priests who have been outed for inappropriately talking to children or touching them or whatever.
So it goes back to like there's this guy that I know, and he told me when he goes to church, I think this is fantastic. He says his church has a rule that no child is allowed to go to the bathroom without a parent. And I said, you mean adult? He goes, no. It has to be their parent. I said, why their parent? And he said, because we don't want any other mistakes. Now, we do know that some parents have also molested children. Not to say parents are all safe. They're not. But we can't, cover every single possibility. If you think that your spouse is being abusive to your child or a child, please call, Child Protective Services. Let them help you. Let them give you advice. Call the police. In the meantime, if it's what I love about this church is it's so much better. I've seen places where other churches where they say, if two girls want to go to the bathroom together or two boys, and I'm like, what? Two? So they get two instead of one. What could those two little children do? How about an adult? Why would they think that two little girls or two little boys are going to be, they may be louder, but they're not educated in how to protect themselves. And I guess, maybe this is more about empowering. Like, think about it. When you were a child, I learned karate because my sister's boyfriend was a black belt. So he took my brother and I. And that was really great. And that helped me a lot. When I was working at the YMCA in Hollywood, there's a gym there. And I'll never forget this guy, real tough guy. And I wanted to take boxing. And he kept on calling me City because everybody was like really like tough guys, really like, full on, Sylvester Stallone boxers. And then there's me. And he said to me, show me your punch. And I showed him. He goes, oh my gosh, do I have a lot to work with? I said, okay, so let's start. And he was not easy on me. He was really quite difficult, made me do a lot of running and, jump rope and a lot of stuff. Great. And he taught me how to box. And there's something you learn as a human being when you learn how to protect yourself. Now, I'm not who I used to be. I couldn't do what I used to do. I'd probably want to start doing that again. But going to the gym will help you be more fit. But to teach you how to box, to teach you how to hit a punch, to teach you how to move and run, fantastic. But those you need to learn from self-defense classes. And I remember going to a class where they had these like dummy guys, and they would take us and hit them. And it's, wow. So when you learn if you hit, you could hurt your hand. And then guess what? Now you're totally vulnerable to the person. So they teach you ways that will just help you as a human being. And imagine if everyone learned that their voice matters, boy or girl, that they can protect themselves. They are no longer that victim. You're proactive. You're sitting there going, I can walk in this world. I can take care of myself. And you don't take undue risks. You live your life with consciousness, knowing that and being mindful. If you walk in the street and you're on a cell phone or you have headphones on, you now just put yourself in a vulnerable position. You're no longer being, aware of your surroundings. And that's something that most people don't know. So I'm finding through this work that it all comes back down to the same thing, which is self-empowerment.
But you brought up an important point for everybody, though, not just kids, because kids have cell phones now. They have headphones. They put in the earplugs. They listen to music. They don't hear anything else. They're zoned out. They're zoned out looking down at their cell phones. They don't even look up anymore. So it's really important to see how the artificial intelligence and these convenience toys are dumbing down people, adults and children, who are addicted and can't walk down the street or can't eat at a restaurant without constantly looking at their phones or drive without having their phone on. And it's there's so many accidents, whether you're walking across a street or you're not paying attention, somebody mugs you, whatever, because so many people are looking down at their phones and zoned out.
Yeah, and kids do these, they're gaming and all this as well. I mean, that makes them an easy predator. And the whole idea is to teach your child not to be an easy target, how to prevent being an easy target, how to prevent yourself from being an easy target. Look, I know I could raise my hand, and I totally used my phone when I was in the mall or doing things where I should have been more alert. And I didn't really think about that. But like you said, it is the children, and it's not just the children. We're living in a world and a time where we have chaos around us. We have people who are angry. We have people who don't know how to manage their anger, and they just blame other people rather than saying, I'm angry, this is my fault. I mean, not like you should blame yourself, but saying, I need to fix this. I need to figure out why I'm angry. I need to stop being this person in the world. I need to be a person that people think of me after I'm gone as loving and kind and generous. That's what most people want to leave behind, but how you get there. And it's also a tricky thing because, so many children, you'll say something. I mean, even the simple thing, I remember learning this in psychology. If you take a glass of water from a pitcher and you pour it in a champagne glass, and you have let's say a whiskey glass, and you pour in The whiskey glass holds a lot more, but a child will always think that the champagne glass holds more because it's thin and tall. No matter how many times you show it to them and prove it to them, they don't really get it. But that's age appropriate. So there's a lot of things that we need to like learn how to, and maybe someday I'll do a class on that. I don't know. But in the meantime, I do work with kids. I do work with adults. I can, I go for self-defense, talk to people, find a therapist. If you need help to communicate with your child, sometimes it is a good thing to have a third person. You may want to talk to your child's teacher, maybe encourage. That would be a really great thing, like you suggested, actually. I think it would be fantastic if people would actually have classes like that they were learning in school, that it was mandatory. Wouldn't it be great?
They could actually put it under health. They could actually put it under health care, because health care is emotional and physical tools that we need to learn, which include, taking care of ourselves to be safe, just as it is to eat healthy foods. If it's even not more important, because if you get kidnapped, whether you're a child or an adult, or you're taken away for organ harvesting or whatever, these are the realities today. And the schools are teaching these classes.
What
Pardon?
You're saying is so true. I said, we live in such a crazy world. The fact that you say organ harvesting, I'm like, oh my God, that's true. It's so insane what you're saying, and yet it's happening. But most people don't even have awareness, because going back to what you said as well, because they don't want to put it on the news, because they're not wanting to scare people, but they want to make people follow them and do what they want them to do and not think. And I think that's the problem that's happened, is we've created a society that makes people follow. And what happened to questioning people? What happened to, wondering and being curious and debating?
Well, what we're going to have to do, Joyce, because we've run out of time, is we're going to have a show next time on these apps that now you just talk to them and they type up for you. You just tell them what you want. They write the story for you. You're not using your brain anymore, and that's their goal, is that you are going to march to their drum through the computers, through the iPhones, through the control of these billionaires who are actually controlling freedom of speech and destroying critical thinkers. They do not like critical thinkers. They're control freaks. They want to control everything, and that's what they're doing. And so we should have a conversation about some of it's great. We all love it. We love convenience, but we have to remember our brain is a muscle. We need to exercise our brain or we lose it, right?
I love it. Let's do the next show on critical thinking, but I just want to leave on two notes. One, if with the child, is make sure you have a second plan. In other words, there's times where you may lose your child in the store and this and that. It has happened. Make sure you have a secondary, who to call, how to deal with a safe adult. What is a safe adult? What is not a safe adult? And the other thing is, I have my recordings on stress management for adults as well as for children on iTunes and Amazon. Just go to Joyce Alexander Black, and my website if you'd like to get a hold of me. And if I can help with anything, I would be more than happy to do so, relative to as many as I can respond to in a day. My website is joycealexanderblack.com, and my email's connected with that, joycealexanderblack.com, and I'll just give my email, joyce@joycealexanderblack.com. Very simple.
Thank you so much, Joyce, and thank you for taking the time to share all this information with our audience because it's so important in this crazy, challenging times that we don't even recognize anymore. It's like living in the twilight zone. We're like, what? But God bless you, and we'll have you back again soon.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope they take your book and make a movie at it. I'll send a prayer to you. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you so much, Joyce, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And Joyce Alexander Black has left the building. Go to iTunes, go to her website. Just type in Joyce Alexander Black, and you will find her. And also you can type in rose-colombo.com. Check out my latest books. If you like to read, then that's the place to go. They're all on Barnes & Noble. You can order them from bookstores, and you can also order them at Amazon.com. Everybody goes to Amazon. Just look under books, and you will find them. Dressing Up and Dressing Down, Obamasaurus, Political Satire, Is America Under Martial Law? Expand your mind, enlighten yourself, and empower yourself, family, and friends with that book. And What's the Name of My Lipstick is a journal for people who want to keep track of their favorite cosmetic brands, the store they're in, their special representative, events, appointments with their salon, websites, emails. It has tips in it. You will love it, and it makes a fantastic gift for birthdays and for Christmas and Mother's Day next year. And then we have, or for yourself and travel. And then we have a Fight Back Legal Abuse. You can buy it used because I took it out of print. It was an international award winner like Obamasaurus. And the latest coming out in late 2023, I believe, is Fight Back Legal Abuse 2. So that's an also self-help book. So God bless you. God bless America. And our guest, Joyce Alexander Black, has left the building, and we will be back with you next Wednesday. Remember, injustices can happen to you, and they can happen to me. But together we can make a positive difference. Remember, you are never alone when you tune into The Rose on Colombo Chronicles and the Justice Club. Bye-bye.
Well, my friends, time flies. And now is the time to say goodbye. Thanks so much for being part of the Colombo Chronicles family. You are appreciated. Please do it now. Bookmark. Push that like, share, and follow button. Oh, and don't forget to comment below and stay in touch. Make your family part of the Colombo family. Until next Wednesday at noon, remember, God loves you, and so does the Rose.